Welcome back to Drag and Discussions. In this episode, we are going to talk about thrift flips and thrift flaws, the privileged side of sustainability. Today, I'm going to be doing a Venus flytrap inspired look as per the discussion about sustainability, so let's get started. As someone who just started their sustainability journey, it is so important that I talk about how expensive it can be. Shopping organic is pricey. So it's going to one of those refill your bottles places, and I hardly have the green thumb or the wallet to be nurturing a whole garden out of an apartment. And of course, there's thrifting, and in general, secondhand clothing. Upcycling clothes is much more work than buying new ones, even if it isn't as costly. Purchasing secondhand can be difficult when thrift stores are still far and few between compared to mainstream clothing brands, and it's always a 50-50 whether you'll like or fit anything. Besides, sometimes thrift stores can be just as bougie as normal stores. Just today, I went to a thrift store that turned out to have higher prices than some clothing brands I've been to. Plus, don't get me started on online shopping secondhand because the shipping alone is insane. But this isn't a problem exclusive to the clothing crisis. Have you noticed that there is an entire culture around sustainability? As a blog called Making Sustainability Accessible so aptly points out, oftentimes social media campaigns in favor of sustainability are targeting the people that actually have the means to buy plastic alternatives. Brands like H&M, Patagonia, Apple, Lush, etc. love to hop onto the sustainability bandwagon, but the way they do so, it just feels expensive. And it's not just the big brands that feel this way. Just look at the numbers. $15 reusable bags, $12 reusable straws, $20 utensils. You see? And I'm not hating on these brands whatsoever. I actually love Bagu, reusable straws, utensils, etc. They're actually great products. All I'm saying is it should not be a privilege to shop sustainably, but an expectation. The blogger puts my exact thoughts into words when they write, I can still also recognize how privileged I am to even have access to all of the sustainable items I use every single day. I recognize that I have the money to burn on products like these to help improve my carbon footprint. Like I said before, I don't think of brand campaigns for sustainability as downright evil. Any push towards sustainability is a good one, and in fact, I think it's a great idea to put the pressure on people with deep pockets to do their part, considering they have the option. But it does shed light on the majority of people who do not want to reach for the $20 reusable bag when a 2-cent plastic one is right there. Sure, the reusable bag may save money if you look at the accumulated costs saved over a couple of years, but most people do not have the privilege of looking at something long-term like that when they don't have the funds for it in the moment. The blog uses a very similar comparison using metal water bottles and plastic ones. I believe it's far more important to address the privileged companies of sustainable products than to blame consumers who seek cheaper alternatives. The blog states similarly that much like reducing meat consumption simply by lowering the prices of vegetarian alternatives, if sustainable items were cheaper and more widely accessible, we would see a huge influx in the number of people participating in a low-waste lifestyle, solely because it is a cheaper option. This is the exact sentiment I share and I'm trying to impart on all of you. If all brands, including Impossible Meat, Amazon, Apple, and other big companies make sustainability the more affordable, more attractive option to consumers, not only would this allow people to choose sustainability comfortably, but it would also incentivize people who don't even consider it. However, even this discussion will not solve the climate crisis. Choosing sustainable options over plastic, carbon, etc. will have certain benefits, but it will hardly make a dent in the climate crisis. Did you know that even if we ceased all CO2 emissions right now, we would still see the effects of climate change 100 years from today? That is how bad the climate crisis has become. Because we can no longer reverse the damage we've caused, we can only try and limit it from expanding further into the future, which is why we need large-scale operations to help the climate crisis. What we truly need is government intervention on a global scale, something we will not see on the presidential level of the United States until perhaps 2028 because President Trump has made it clear how he feels about climate change, referring to it as a hoax and passing several policies that have negative effects on the environment. The most difficult and most beneficial aspect of being involved in politics by far has been to see the decisions of our current administration and the proof that we are falling backwards. But by being up to date with politics, you can amplify your voice with fact-checked claims that strengthen your argument and make you feel more confident about facing any opposition. Being politically aware is mentally grueling. No one is discounting that. But it is rewarding in so many inexplicable ways. Shutting our eyes to the problems may ease our conscience, but it will not help advocate for any sort of change. In times like these, my favorite discussion comes into play, which would be local politics. People believe that making an impact in politics means going down the route of being a senator, a Supreme Court judge, or running for president. This pains me because local politics is always far more impactful than most realize. By involving ourselves in the local community and advocating for change, including sustainability, we can create connections to the federal level that cause ripples of change to become waves. People who are losing hope need to recognize that these challenges should be used as fuel for our fires, not water to douse them out.